As we move to the next panel, The Strength of the Haitian Woman, Her Story, I would like to introduce that panel's moderator as I unlock my phone here so that I can do it properly. I have the distinct honor today to introduce my good friend, Karen Andre. Karen is currently serving as Associate Director for the Consumer Education and External Affairs at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Karen has served in a number of government, campaign, and private sector roles. Most recently, before she joined CFPB, she was Special Assistant to the President of the United States for Economic Agency Personnel within the Executive Office of the President. Before that, she worked on President Biden's 2020 campaign, including a senior advisor for National Faith Outreach. Following President Biden's election, she joined the Presidential Transition Team as the COVID Engagement Team Lead. She also previously served as the White House liaison for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. She received her bachelor's from FIU in Florida and her Juris Doctorate, which means she's a lawyer, from the University of Miami School of Law. So please put your hands together. For those of you who've been here before, you know that she really needs no introduction, but I want to follow Karen's lead and give people their flowers when they can receive them and hear them. So Karen, the mic is yours. Thank you.
I'm back home. I'm so excited. Comment nous y est, mesdames? En forme? Nous en communauté. Nous en communauté. Nous très fiers, nous très contents. Et bon, langue non ti Jean-Loup, so don't laugh at my Creole, but I'm capable. But it's really, really good to be back in company, in full company, for the first time in over 3 years. Some of you I haven't seen or touched or hugged in over 3 years. And so there are many people who were with us in 2019 who aren't still with us anymore. We've experienced a lot of loss, a lot of tragedy, a lot of pain. And so I always call this our laku, our oasis, because as we know as women, we pour out every day. We wake up from the minute our feet hit the floor, we're thinking about someone else, whether it's your family, whether it's giving your all on the job, at church, in your community-based organization, trying to survive and help people in Haiti survive. We do it all, and we pour out and we pour out and we pour out. And the reality is that you cannot pour from an empty cup. So you have to find a way to make self-care mandatory and as regular as brushing your teeth. Mental, emotional hygiene is as important as physical hygiene. And so this, for me, is mandatory self-care. And I am happy to be in community. I was in a panel where a woman said that she has to come here, so she's put it in her budget. $50 every paycheck goes to making sure that she can come and attend HLN every year, because when we're together, we strengthen each other, we experience the power of love and connection, and that gives us the strength to recharge, refuel, and go back and give some more. That's what we do as women. We're the givers of life. But who's giving us life? So we have to give it to each other. Amen? Amen. The other thing about women is that we are the thermostat. T'entends bien, oui? Okay. Not the thermometer. The thermometer tells you what temperature it is. If you adjust the thermostat, you change the temperature. You bring the heat. You bring it up, you bring it down, you control when you walk into a room, into a boardroom, into a classroom, into a nursing room. You make the difference. So I need you all to leave here remembering that you are what? Not a thermometer. Okay, D'accord. All right. This is not the Karen Andre speech, but I just wanted to pour into you all a little bit and center the conversation we're about to have. Amen. Don't get me started. You know how I do. So we're here to talk about her story. The word history has H-I-S at the front of it, and fine, we love our guys, we love our gentlemen, but we're going to hear and focus on us. And we're going to hear from two extraordinary women today and hear their personal journeys on their lives, personal and professional. And the uniting thing is that we're all on a journey. From your first breath to your last, you're on a journey. And all those moments in between that first breath and that last is your history, your her story, right? So we all are trying to make it. We're all trying to figure out what that means. We're all trying to give back. We're all trying to support ourselves. We're all doing that. It just looks different in different fields, different ages, different occupations, but we're all on a journey. So there's universal themes you will hear today that it doesn't matter whether you're in the same lane as these ladies, you will be able to relate to. And lastly, before I introduce these two women, I want to just acknowledge that the beauty of coming together in this environment is you always discover a woman that's either doing something you'd like to do or a woman that's doing something amazing that you never had any idea was happening. And even if you have nothing to do with that, you just leave inspired. And I call that moment during the conference, and you all can talk about it, oh, I didn't know we had a Haitian woman here doing that. Oh my God, I didn't know I had somebody else in this school studying this thing with me. And I call that the hidden figures moment, right? And speaking of which, so I always leave like, oh my God, inspired. So we have a not so hidden figure amongst our midst that I'd like to shout out because she's a public figure. She's an elected official. She is the only Haitian elected official in the country of France. Please stand, and when I recognize you, Anne-Louise Mesadieu, where are you? Let us give her some love. Woo! Bienvenue. We see you, we hear you, we love you. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you. So there was a reunification of some of the Haitian American elected officials, but I didn't know if some of you all knew that we had someone all the way from France, the only one in France. So that's the only reason why I'm singling her out. But all our other Haitian American elected officials, will you just please stand so I can love at you? Yes! Yes! We love you, and thank you, sisters, for fighting for us every day. Speaking of fighters, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the womb that I came from fighting. Where is Mom? Madame Farajus? Thank you. It's her birthday weekend. Happy birthday, Mom. Ooh, she's a lot. All right. In the best possible way. A not-so-hidden figure. And another not-so-hidden figure, but for those who may not know, we have a sister who has taken the fashion world by storm. She snuck in here very quietly, very humbly. She joined us, I think, in our 2018, maybe 2017 HLN brunch. But Azette Jean-Pierre is here amongst us. And if you don't know who she is, please Google the sister. She is very Googleable. One word, Gucci. Okay, all right, now let us bring these amazing women to the stage. One needs no introduction. I'll save her for last, but I want to talk about this amazing woman that I'm going to bring to the stage. Her name is, I'm going to say it in English and then I'll get it in Creole. Her name is Sandra Lajoie. That says a lot right there. Sandra Lajoie is Vice President for Entertainment and Unscripted Communications at NBCUniversal. We're gonna unpack what unscripted communications means, right? But Sandra is a native of Haiti. She'll tell you what city, because we're gonna do a shout out and roll out. I'm representing Las Caobas, Pato Central. Thank you very much. Pays Belle Moon, if I might say so myself, right, Mom? Sandra Lajoie came from Haiti as a young girl with her family to the United States in search of the American dream. After graduating from Emerson College in Boston with a BS in broadcast journalism, she served as a publicist for Warner Brothers Television, working on a roster of hit series that some of the younger ones will know. Oh, you worked on The West Wing. Huh. I love that show. West Wing, Gossip Girls, Chuck, Cold Case, and Fringe as an account supervisor and publicist for Coburn Communications, with a portfolio of clients that included Iman Cosmetics, Victoria's Secret, PBS, CMT, MTV, and Animal Planet. I can go on and on and on, but obviously we know that we are in the presence of a boss, and you're gonna hear more about that. She currently oversees the publicity efforts for NBC and Bravo's high-profile original programming, including The Voice. How many people have watched The Voice here? So now you all really have to watch and support our sister, The Real Housewives of Potomac, right here in the DC area, where you can get a weekly read from Karen and the ladies, and Project Runway. Sandra is an active member of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. She currently resides in my home borough in Brooklyn, New York. Sandra Lajoie, give her a warm Haitian ladies welcome. It's fine. Okay, now, you know, you get to rock star status when you get to one name, right? When you don't have to say the last name, when you only can say Emeline. Sacré de pou m'di la. But, au mesure de protocole, n'a fait un petit parler quand même. But she clearly needs no introduction in this room. And if by chance you're younger and maybe have not heard, but everybody I've seen from a whole age spectrum seems to know who Emeline is, but I'll say the whole name. Emeline Michel is a singer, songwriter, and known as the queen of Creole music, and only a few performers can have earned the acclaim for developing a unique sound like hers. She can count herself among those few who are known for her fusion of traditional Haitian rhythms, compa, racine, toubadou, with other musical genres like pop, jazz, and the blues. She created her own sound, which appeals to both traditional and contemporary listeners. And we all know when the sister moves those hips, hips don't lie, right? So she brings the beautiful sensuality of our culture, of our rhythm, of our dance, of our music, and of our voices to the stage with her every day. That's why she's so calm and composed when she's not on the stage, because when she is on the stage, she leaves it all on the field. Will we agree? Yeah. So like I said, I could read the whole 2-page bio, but you don't need any further introduction to Emeline. All right, merci mesdames. Ou bien recevoir mesdames, yo nou pa fè mwot. I'm going to go over here and we're going to start the conversation. Are we ready? Yes. Are you prepared to be touched, moved, and inspired? Yes. All right, let's do it. No ugly cry. We have tissues here. I cannot promise that. I cannot promise that. Okay, mesdames, bienvenue. I'm so honored and thrilled to be, I don't want to give you my ladies, my back here. So I wanted to organize this conversation in 3 sections. We're going to talk about the backstory, then the journey, and then we have a special question at the end. So, Emeline, when we were talking earlier, I mentioned that c'est comme si m'entrer dans mi-temps film, non? Moi rencontre sous scène. OK? Moi rencontre comme Emeline. Même pas qu'on aucune idée de antécédent. So, we see each other on social media in real life, all dressed up, beautiful as we should be, but nobody knows our behind-the-scenes story. Nobody knows the journey of the climb. And so this is a rare opportunity for us to share, both of you, that journey to this level of prominence that you're at, because it is a climb. Would you agree? Agree. So, okay, we're going to take it step by step. Kote ou moun.
Gen yon go naïve dans ka la.
Oh oh! Yo ba moun go naïve, yo trop quiet.
Bon, moun nan no. Moi fait dans l'hôpital La Providence, dans mi-temps ville Gonaïve là, et puis moi grandi Parc Vincent, bon terrain football là. C'est là toute bagaille passé à l'âge depuis dans une famille de 5 petits moun et puis on a dit que moi deuxième petite mais 5 petits moun parents papa agronome et pasteur en même temps. Okay. Maman couturière, fête des fêtes. Nous ouais côté m'aller. Fête si on a dit que c'est ton enfance pour moi-même qui tissait tout ça. Moi écrit dans la vie parce que papa lui-même c'était dans tête c'est comme la voyo l'école c'est LLL l'école la caille l'église. OK. Donc on en parler et pas gagner débordement dans ça et puis structure donc c'est ça dans ville Gonaïve et puis jusqu'à l'âge de 12 ans moi aller et moi remettre certificat études primaires moi et puis après ça nous rentrer Port-au-Prince pour nous faire école secondaire.
D'accord. Est-ce que depuis en Gonaïve vous chanter qui l'a commencé à chanter?
Moi crois que on t'ai gagné un petit fille désordre un petit bandit.
I know somebody like that.
Oui. Do we all?
On l'autre artiste on connaît très bien.
I'm wondering if like to make a career and stand and keep going you have to be a little bit of a bandit.
Okay. No? So there's a phrase that says what's the phrase that goes quiet women rarely make history? Okay? So faut un petit bandit là caillou.
Bandit, pain chaud, parler trop pour toute la journée, l'aime saute l'école, tout le monde dans quartier qu'on aime saute l'école. Parce que je chantais fort. Donc je commence à chanter vraiment je dis 5-6 ans dans l'église Bethel Gonaïve parce que je commençais à me voir et puis je décidé mettre dans le choral et puis même tellement coûte que j'étais obligé de mettre un petit banc en papier pour moi. Donc 5 ans mais vraiment c'est amuser m'a pas amusé quand j'aime bien la caille moi et puis je dis Loulou chanter pour nous.
Qui non?
Lou,
toujours un petit nom.
Oui, nous voyons ça. Oui. Nous voyons ça, voilà. C'est depuis 5 ans. Et puis, je viens commencer pour la musique au sérieux à l'âge de 12 ans.
Ouais. Qui s'est passé à l'âge de 12 ans qui faut commencer à prendre au sérieux? Après ça, nous parlons sur Sandra.
Oui, au départ, je me dit, c'était comme si je toujours réalisé. Le m'a chanté moi tête moi très au sérieux me pas travail ça me ramasser comme commencer chanter et puis me regarder des yeux monde qui l'humain me ouais monde qui envie sourire me sentir qu'on bagarre les provoquer et puis à l'âge de 12 ans c'est vraiment là où commencer petite jeune fille et puis vraiment où font petit route quand même et puis c'est le samedi tête moi me t'a aimé en chanteuse dans la vie me t'a gagné le fait Toto Bissin et puis gagné surtout Martha Jean-Claude qui était provoqué le matin des voix Martha Jean-Claude t'es une grande radio dans la famille là une radio bleue radio grand même le fin temps des radio lumière li prêter l'heure est à la prière le fin temps des radio lumière prêter un petit radio puis moi même moi virer dans radio nationale moi prend tout. C'est là que je commence à nourrir l'esprit de chanteuse internationale que je n'ai pas accès à eux-mêmes. Donc, j'ai 2 heures de temps ça pour m'entendre l'autre musique différente. C'est là que ça me commence à vraiment, ça a les folies chanter.
D'accord, on a retourné sur ça. Okay? So let me take a moment because we just did that whole segment in Creole. How are my non-Creole speakers doing? We're good? And somebody needs to translate?
We can switch. We can switch.
What's that? Okay, oh, she's swimming to get out. I'm nager pour sortir. So
We'll switch.
We're multilingual here, but basically I asked her about her early influences. She shared that she was born in Guanaíve and grew up in a family, really great family structure, second of five kids. Dad was an agronomist and also a pastor. But she was always singing, she was always loud, she was always a little boisterous. And around 12 years old when they moved to Port-au-Prince is when she started to really think about singing as what she called el folie, but the dream of actually becoming a singer. Okay, perfect. All right.
Wow, wonderful.
It's what I do. So, yes. But some early influences. So now we're going to turn to Sandra. Sandra, by the way, if you don't know, was featured in an Essence article last year? Yeah. Yes. Each year in COVID feels like a lifetime, right?
Yes, for sure.
So please look up Sandra Lajoie, and see a little bit about her Essence article. But we're going to start there because that kind of tells a little bit about your backstory. So why don't you tell us about what they were discussing with you in that, and then we'll unpack your backstory before you became Sandra Lajoie.
That was a opportunity for me for the first time to be vocal and keep something that I've kept quiet for a very long time, just in terms of my family coming from Haiti. I was born in Port-au-Prince. Creole is where I lived, and with my parents and my two brothers, older and younger. And I mean, we, like most, had a little house with two bedrooms, and my parents were, struggled a lot. I would say. My mom, when she first came to Haiti, was working as a nanny/housekeeper, and my dad in a factory. So I think for us, it was whatever they could get, we split it amongst all of us. And my mother is the type of woman that if she had that last piece of chicken, she would give it to us before she would eat, because she wanted to make sure her children were good. And through that, I think, I was very much boisterous and fun and that type of young girl too when I was younger, until a tragic accident that happened in Haiti with my mother's best friend caused me to be blind in my eye, literally changed my personality and who I was for a long time, just because I, at that point, couldn't trust people and couldn't be as open and as boisterous and fun anymore, because, once you go through trauma, it has all different kinds of impact, and sometimes as a young girl, and we're talking about 6 years old, I didn't feel pretty anymore. I didn't feel like everybody else anymore. And I was walking around with these big glasses. My eye was half blue, half brown, and just trying to stay away from kids making fun of me, so trying to be silent. So that full of life girl sort of shied away and became more private. And I think, too, my mom was just being tortured because that accident happened while she was actually in America and wasn't there to protect me. And so she was harboring a lot of guilt, and also had trust issues and was trying to keep me safe as well. I think, as most mothers would be after their child goes through something, is walking around with a lot of guilt and trying to keep the family together. She became very determined, I think, to find a way to help me and our family in our struggles. And so she decided that we should come to America. And because she had gone to many doctors who gave her the same results and said there was nothing they could do, they couldn't give me my vision back. So I think my mom sort of made a deal with God. And if you read the Essence article, you'll find out about the betrayal of her best friend. And ultimately, she should have gone to jail, but my mom opted not to do that because she said to God, I will let her go if you can give my child back her vision. And then an opportunity came as my father was actually living in the US and working and sending money back to us for us to come to America. And so we did. We packed up. My brothers and I thought we were coming for a summer vacation to visit my dad. We had no idea that her plan was that we were going to stay. And like everybody, you get the papers, it's temporary, but you know, as scared as she was, undefiably, my mother's probably the strongest woman I know, because you leave your family behind and everything you know and everything you love for the opportunity, just the chance that you could give your kids a future, change their environment and their perspective. And for her, who grew up with no education really, she had nothing in her to make her believe in something so grander and so big. But it always goes back to her belief in God and my belief in God that she instilled in me, that anything is possible. So she just took a step and a leap out on faith that God would provide and give us a way, and surely he did. But it was a long journey to get there. It was a long journey.
That was a perfect segue. Wow. Remember I said we see these beautiful images, but you don't know the backstory? How many of you are looking at this beautiful, glamorous, head to toe, immaculately dressed sister would know that she has experienced such trauma at an early age, overcome it, and now has risen to this heights of the arts and entertainment industry in the United States? Is that not a journey? So, Sandra, a couple of things came to mind as you were speaking. Would you say they're going to see Bundy Desert Lakayu that has helped you to push through?
I know I was pretty rotten when I was little. Yes, the magic word here is a couple magic words: perseverance and resilience.
Okay. We hear that a lot when it comes to the Haitian journey,
yes,
don't we?
Yeah.
Aren't we tired of being resilient sometimes?
Yeah.
Don't we want some soft life, ladies? Yes, so Timunyo Nouvelle Génération, they have a term, okay, mom and my generation, yo a little soft life. Yo di yo pa nan bourrique encore. Yo fatigué, yo sa maman yo grand-mère yo passé. Yo même yo vle soft life.
I love that.
Yo vle prendre soin tête yo. Yo vle bamboche. Yo vle servi le yo capable, Jean yo capable, mais yo ta remè sous bateau, yo ta remè lan la mer, yo ta remè enjoy tête yo. D'accord, mesdames. Nous besoin plus soft life. Hashtag soft life. How do you say that in Creole, Emeline?
La vie douce.
La vie douce.
La vie douce.
I don't know anything about that.
La vie douce.
But I would say, when I was here last time for the Haitian Ladies Weekend back in 2019, I had discovered about Sheroes of Haiti, in that book. And I started to understand that our history is a lot of strong women who had to fight. And I do feel that if they've been fighting for generations, that transfers into our genetic DNA. And therefore, I am a representation of those women, and I am a fighter, and I have learned from, whether I never interacted with them, but because of their sacrifices and because of their stories and the things that they did, I'm standing here before you right now. So even though it's a struggle and we're sick of having to always be resilient, without that resilience, I wouldn't even be able to make it.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
And yes, we all stand on the shoulders of giants, known and unknown. My grandmother, no one knows outside my family who she is, but she is the giant, the titan in our family. And so whether moun nan télétré ou pas, nous toutes camper sous épaule, on femme haïtienne, on potomitan, dans famille nous, dans société nous, qui ban nous jarret, qui ban nous force pour nous continuer. C'est pas vrai?
Yeah.
Gadi pour l'autre, tant pis.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we turn back to Emeline, how responsive in a healthy way was Haitian community and society to you to support you in your trauma moment, whether it's the actual physical trauma or the emotional trauma? Because we're not always the healthiest in those in response? Hopefully you had a different experience.
Because I was so young, I think it's more the trauma that my mom had to deal with. Because, you know, when you're 6, you're in this environment, you're in a protective space, especially with kids, you're just dealing with kids being mean to you or whatever. But my mother said her struggle and why I think she wanted to leave was she's in the neighborhood and people were looking at me differently and telling her, oh, she won't be anything. You know what I mean? Now this one little incident has defined me in their eyes, and now they want to speak into existence that I will be nothing. And that was our Haitian community, and that, I think, really destroyed my mother and pushed her to say, this will not be my child.
Chapeau bas to your mother, and obviously to you.
Yes.
We're going to hear more, but what I heard you just say is that fear-based thinking that is so prevalent in our society, and also people just offering opinions unsolicited.
Yep. It's on me.
Don't get me started. It's things that we can, correct and tweak in our culture, right? Okay, n'a retourner sur Emeline. So Emeline, à 12 ans, folie en prend. OK. Mais on dit papa est un pasteur.
Oui.
Est-ce que tu as une opinion sur petite fille là qui t'a envie de chanter?
Bon, c'est n'a parlé de struggle. Bon, nous connaissons do you know Rigouaz Martinez?
It's another level of trauma.
You know, coming from a Christian family, there are limitations and there are strength.
Yeah.
Because you learn also kind of God is always watching whatever you're doing. That fear in you kind of make you always on your guard. But at the same time, there's another part of you also coming from a Christian family that give you this endurance. You got that power of faith, as you were mentioning your mother. Yeah. Mine is a potomitan. I wrote songs about her. So Mama, she's the person that would, as of today, would stand up and then, hey, wap parti, on pral avion, on pral voyager. Let's pray together. Let's pray. And remember, it's not about the showing off the glitter, and it's about touching people's life and changing people's life. So this part of it, I think it's like, I got that both from coming from a family, a Christian family. My father is like, Ubap, you're not gonna go anywhere if you don't give me certificat d'études primaires, certificat d'études secondaires, you know what I'm talking about. So that part of it had me work harder because I want to finish it so I can start singing.
Do what you want.
And I don't want to make myself look good, but I was the first to leave my family and go study in Detroit. Oh, wow. To make a long story short, because everybody, when you coming from a very, I'm saying, extremely humble family, one trick I see my mother doing is opening the cupboard and say, so what we're gonna eat today? And you improvise. This is when we're talking about strength of Haitian women. It's like we make ways out of nothing. Yes. And then you come back home, you're we didn't know we have blé in pois rouge à la maison. So this kind of being ingenuous, like inventing, improvising constantly. So this is what I got from my mother, and I know the fight for me came where I had to, okay, I want to do music. My father said, musique pas mette, manger sous table. Musique pas voye dans marché. So I had to put it somewhere in Garde Papi. Because what happened is like, yeah, music pavo in a mache, but at some point in my life, I end up doing Rex Theatre, and my salary is a little bit bigger than my father. And he didn't like that at all. So that part of it make me feel like, okay, these are things you gradually have to conquer. Yes. Conquer at some point and prove yourself. Prove yourself. Oh, you want to sing? Yes. Okay, you do X theater, and what's next? You got un bourse d'études pour aller étudier à Détroit. So what's next? You never have this la vie douce. Douce.
Yep.
So that's
Okay.
my father.
So Dad, I heard a couple of themes. This is very universal, like I said. Education first, right?
Yes.
Faith, l'école, l'église, and then oulakai. And so, papi pat trop aimé à faire chanter, hein? Gen pile parents haïtiens qui gen rêve pa yo pour petit yo, docteur, ingénieur, you know the three, the Holy Trinity. So, te gen un peu là ça, ma cause, hein?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. One great thing, though, my father, I think as much as he really is attached, is glued to the books, which is really great for us. But that's a part I remember is about the fact that he taught us how to dream big.
Good.
When we...
Thank you.
He doesn't have a lot of money, but he would rent a small house when we go to Pasren. Anybody here know Pasren? Yes. And then we would go there, no electricity, just a little lamp, and then full moon, we're lying down, and then we're facing the skies, and we're counting stars, and he's telling us, click, clack, all the things that bridge and woven my artistry. I got it from my father, and he was with no money. That is priceless for me.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I want to ask you both. So you shared your early beginnings. We see a lot of resilience. We see faith. We see defiance of odds. We see overcoming obstacles, what Joseph Campbell would call the hero's journey. Look that up if you haven't ever checked that out. You start out, you have a challenge, you have help on the way, you hit rock bottom, and then you come back up and you have a transformation. Did you have a rock bottom moment in this journey, or many, either of you? And if so, what was your biggest obstacle, or one of them, that you care to share?
For me, I think it was just financial hardship in the beginning, especially coming to America. And, my mom was a housekeeper, my dad was also helping, and he had a little job working at a car dealership. When he first got here, actually, he was only working under the table because he didn't have paperwork, and we didn't have that. So when it came time to go to college, because that was the whole thing about for my family was education, education, education. The only way that that's going to change the circumstance that we're in is make sure you get your education. And my mom was always big about, before you could go to practice, before you could do anything. I mean, I think Cosby Show was the only show I was allowed to watch for a long time, because they wouldn't let us watch TV during the week. It was just read a book, read a book. So when it was time to go to college, I was just scared that I wasn't going to have that opportunity because financially we couldn't afford it. And I had been, working really hard and focusing in on my grades. And so it happened for me that when it was time for me to go to Emerson College that I wanted to go to, was around the time that my real eye started, the doctors had told me a long time, at one point your eye pressure is going to get really bad to the point where you're going to feel like somebody's sticking a needle in your eye. And it happened, I had gotten into a college that I didn't want to go to. It was private, at Riviera College in Nashua, New Hampshire, and I only went because they gave me money. But I wasn't excited about it. It wasn't, it was just, my mom was like, well, we can't afford it, and they're giving you money, so go. So we went and did that. And that freshman year, I'll never forget being in that dorm room and getting ready to go to class, and this pain grabbed me in my eye and pushed me back, and then it just got worse. It got worse, and then I couldn't even keep my eye open. So I didn't even make it to class. And then it went away, but the pattern started happening that every couple weeks it would start back up again, and it just got so bad that I finally went to the doctor, and they were like, your eye pressure is out of control. The only way you're gonna be able to do this is if you have surgery and remove it completely. So we need to get prosthetic eye. I just did that. I realized how unhappy I was at the school, and I wanted to transfer, and I wanted to go into communications. Emerson College is $27,000 a year. My parents were like, have you lost your mind? And there was no way of getting in. I submitted for financial aid. They gave me $5,000 out of that whole thing. So I took a year off and started working, and I ended up getting the surgery that I needed. And there came time now, my year was over. Emerson gave me a year, you could hold off for a year. I went to apply back again, and this time they only gave me $5,000. So my mom was like, you need to just go talk to the financial aid people so they could understand the circumstance. So I get myself together, I make an appointment, and I go to financial aid officer. I'm sitting with this woman, and I'm trying to explain to her why I need this money, why education is so important, specifically for my family, and telling her, and she's explaining to me, she's like, listen, there's just a system of things, there's only so much that we have, all this stuff. And I had just had the eye surgery and put the prosthetic in. I'm going to say this with the caveat that I do not recommend anybody do this extreme. But, like I said, I was an eccentric child once upon a time. I started to panic, I started crying, and I was like, this is my last chance, I need to go to school. If you don't give me this money, she was like, oh my gosh, calm down, and then I just lost it, and I took the eye out, and I said, look what's happening to me, look at my life. If you don't give me this money, what am I gonna do?
I wasn't ready.
And she literally just lost, she's like, ma'am, I need you to put your eye back in. I need you to put your eye back in. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I was just a mess. And I was just like, you don't understand. My parents just had all the money that they could use for insurance to get me this prosthetic. I need this. This is it. She was like, okay, we'll figure something out. I put the eye back in. I'm like, okay. And I go home. I get home. My mom's like, how'd it go? And I was like, I think it was good. And she's like, what do you mean? And then I tell her, she's like, mais Sandra. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. All I know is a couple months after that, I got my financial aid packet, and I got $22,000. So all I can say to you,
you cannot say no to a Haitian woman.
And that for me was rock bottom, but I just think you gotta fight. And I know it's exhausting.
Yes.
It is really exhausting that we have to keep fighting. But without that, it really started my life into going into communications. But for me, I had nothing to lose at that point. And I was just like, you know what? Everybody else I'm looking at, all my friends are able to get an education and they have a great life. Why can I not have those same opportunities?
Yes.
And so therefore, you're gonna just get this eccentric little moment, and then hopefully you'll never remember it. But
Woo! She took us on a journey, didn't she?
To remember.
That was incredible. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable. And I would never know if you didn't share right now that you had a prosthetic eye.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that about you.
No,
and again, look at this amazing, glamorous, gorgeous woman sitting before you. Because you know that she has gone through all of that and overcome all of that. Didn't I tell you you would be touched, moved, and inspired? Yeah. Thank you, Sandra.
no problem.
I know what time is running short.
I've never talked about that, but I do think it's important in this space as I'm looking at all of you, and I know that each of one of you have a story and have had to make sacrifices and fights, but I just, like you said, we all might look beautiful and wonderful, but know that each of us has had a journey, and we're all starting from the same place. There's no difference between me and you, I just don't know your story.
That's right. That's right. So, Emeline, I don't know if you have a story as dramatic as that. Do not feel pressured at all. At all. This is not a competition,
No,
but
at all. No, as a matter of fact, I just want to bow down and say, that strength is inspiring. Because it's like, you know, of course, we always think about, I realize we're coming from the same background where you have to carry yourself nicely, don't talk too loud, don't do this. And then going to that point where you feel like you have to throw yourself in it, it's an amazing act of courage, and salute to you. Yeah.
So, Emeline, can you share a moment that you can do one of two things? You can either share a rock bottom moment that you had to climb out of, or we can go into my favorite question, which is, Sim te connais? Translate for the babies. If I knew then what I know now,
Yes.
what would be different? Or what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, my goodness.
Knowing what you know now. And that's, you know a lot. You've seen a lot, you've done a lot.
It's definitely not a rosy path. There was miracle all along, because as is in terms of paying school, was like, my family never had enough money to send me to music school. And it was the pastor of my church that gave me a tuition to learn for 4 years of piano, and 4 years with Azir Roku in Seminary Adventiste Dikini to learn music. These are sheer out of nowhere miracle. I would say if I knew if I had all this experience that I had now, I would stop doubting. Because sometimes the fears are killers of dreams.
Say that again, please. Et tant pis, dis-le en créole tout, s'il vous plaît.
Et en créole, ma petite concerne, je suspend, questionner tête, moi, douter tout le temps. Parce que yo ba un talent, ou bien yo ba justement possibilité pour écrire, pour diriger tout un plateau. Et puis des fois, ou tellement peser le pour et le contre, et puis opportunité à passer devant, comme ça. Alors que ça fait à bon, li belle, li fort, et puis parti ça me dit que leur peur, li casserait vous, li paralyse ou l'empêche ou al pi devant.
So, meilleur bagay lan, c'est pas quitter doute, casser vous. Don't let doubt kill your fears. What about you, Sandra? What did I say?
Dreams.
Kill your dreams.
Fears kill your dreams.
Don't let fears kill your
Okay,
dreams.
sorry. Don't let fear kill your dreams.
dreams,
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
And Sandra, Sute Kone.
Agree with that as well. When I look back, when I first started my career and I got to LA and I started NPR, I remember I was an assistant and to the senior vice president of publicity, and we would always have meetings with all of our team, and it's a big conference room, and there'd be a big main table with all the publicists, and then there'd be chairs on the outside. And I walked in thinking, I'm just an assistant. So I sat in the chairs on the outside and let everybody else sit in the table. And when I look back on it now, knowing what I know now, I wish to God that I hadn't done that. Because what I did is I started putting myself in my mind. My action, without me doing subconsciously, is saying, oh, you need to just be back here, you need to be silent. And part of that was part of my upbringing as a Haitian. We all know how our parents are, fait bon petit monde, and I was very raised in a circumstance of children are supposed to be seen, not heard. So I was always trying not to be rude. For me, it was just about like, I'm just trying to be proper, like I'm just the assistant. I'm just looking at the title and thinking like, oh, it's not a big deal, so I should be back here, I'll take notes. Even though I saw other people who had to sit at the table. So now I've learned that that was to my deficit, because it also, as I grew in my career, I wasn't as vocal sometimes as I should have been. It made it harder for me to get promotions. I didn't raise my hand as often as I should have when I look back on it for opportunities, because I started to self-doubt and thinking that there wasn't, that wasn't for me. It should be for somebody else with a bigger title. I don't deserve that yet, or I'm not ready. And I started to just doubt myself. And I put myself in the back of the bus. But we've already learned from somebody that we should never do that, And so that is the mentality that I think, for me, if I could go back and if I could talk to that young girl, I could say, look at her and just say, never again. Never again put yourself behind anybody else. You have fought for every right, every opportunity that everybody else on this table has. You're in this room, and you gotta let them know who you are. And because once I started to apply some of that in my learnings, it started to open opportunities for me where people would say, there's something about you, there's something about your presence. I'd be like, what are you talking about, me? Little me? And I'm still a work in progress with it. It's still challenging for me to do that. And I've even had talks with my boss where she's just like, oh, I wish you would have raised your hand more. And I was like, oh, but I thought you wanted me to do this, and I didn't do it. And she's like, yeah, had I known that, I would have given you the opportunity. But I gave it to somebody else. And so I implore all of you, is if something that you desire or want or speak into not just speak into existence, but walk into it and raise your hands and stand in front, and don't ever let anyone put you in back, let alone let yourself. Do not let yourself be the person that ever puts you in.
I hate that the time has moved so quickly. When you're waiting for that last hour, when you're ready to go home, your feet hurt, you're hungry, you're sleepy, that last hour goes so slowly at work. But then when you're in the company of amazing women and you're having this great conversation, I just blinked, and I don't know, an hour has gone by, I think. So we haven't even gotten into everything. But a couple of themes I think we want to leave with. First and foremost, everyone has a story. Everyone, no matter how the image is presented, we all have a journey, we all have a climb. So when you meet a sister, regardless of how intimidating their image may be, just say, what's your story? And you'll be surprised. The stories, actually you won't be, because we all have overcome something. And these ladies have done a magnificent job of so openly and vulnerably sharing some of the things that they've overcome, but it's all universal. The other thing I think we can walk away with is, in our culture, there are wonderful things about our culture that have supported us in our journey, and there are things that we all want to be more deliberate and intentional about in the future with the next generation, and adjusting. Our faith has sustained us, our commitment to education has propelled us, but that la société thing can be a problem. That's a whole other workshop and a panel. And obviously overcoming all of these things in our culture, the other thing that I heard is that, especially for our young girls, children in general in Haitian society are seen and not heard, and lastly, young ladies are often expected or tacitly shown to shrink. And what I heard these ladies saying is, do not shrink. Take up space. Own your power. Ignite your power. Hello, that's the whole purpose of us being here. And so I hope you leave with these themes in your mind, and remember to diminish the parts of our culture that are hindering us and maximize the parts that are sustaining us. And remember these two amazing ladies. Every moment that you have a moment of doubt, every moment that you have a moment of fear, do not let that fear kill your dreams. Thank you, ladies.